Hi, today is the 7th of July, 2022. Make sure to subscribe to my official YouTube channel, like my official YouTube videos, and share the links to my official YouTube videos. Go to my website, www.susanmeeling.com, and make sure you understand that it's the same as www.ladydorybell.com. So I will post the link to what inspired this official YouTube video of mine. And it'll be in the information section. So I have a thing. I've liked listening to Greg Gutfeld when he was on Red Eye, which I can make a bit of a joke because my hair is a little red every now and then. Kind of is. I kind of like red nail polish, red lipstick. I kind of like the color red. It's a thing. Um, and I also like the sign, no turn on red. So do not turn on red, something like that. And so, I'm gonna go into a few things. I tend to do that, but since I like the color red, and so I kind of like Red Eye, and now it's the Gutfeld show, and Greg Gutfeld, he has this saying that every now and then, so then there's period. And so I made this meme, I created it, and it had to do with, being a biological female, and that one time a month that every biological female is like, yeah, and then don't matter. And so I thought it was funny because he started, as far as what I had heard on Fox News, as Red Eye. And so probably doesn't actually have to do with that necessarily. However, if you look at the Freudian aspects as to certain factors of shape, and then you take that biological female situation. And so, but that's only if you know about Freudian slips, pun intended. And so, the particular link, I bet you didn't see that starting out this way on my official YouTube channel for this official YouTube video. Though make sure to also go to my website, www.susanmeeling.com, which is the same as www.ladydorybell.com. And so I figured my outfit would be okay. I mean, I like yin yangs, and I also like the yin yang twins. Yin yang twins. Apologize if my verbiage is because you gotta get low. And when I went scuba diving, I went really low in the water. As far as a few locations, and my colors are black and white. For scuba diving, though also in reference to my supposed to be consenting adult lifestyle colors, black and white, though mainly in reference to um, the tools that I had created and stuff like that. So that's kind of a thing. I'm a little CDO to the level that I alphabetized OCD. And so I kind of figured, depending on certain colorations, and again, you have to listen to the link in regards to the Gutfeld show to kind of get certain reference points, and then, because of that saying, period, depending on the shade. And maybe it's 2/3 of a pun. That's okay. And then there's 2/3 of a pun, I suppose, a different way, depending on your pun intended viewpoint, though yet again, 2/3 of a pun, possibly. And so, while some people, I enjoyed Greco-Roman Latin class. This is because I'm that much of a dork, but also this is where I will play the most with words. say that when it comes to wordplay, oof, I don't know. I've been accused of a few things, and you know what? When it comes to words and wordplay, well, maybe I could actually in certain ways, hypothetically, that in a reverse aspect of um, taking, understanding, limitlessly. When it comes to wordplay, because then there's that. Not that anyway. So the reference is to the the color white and a news article that Greg Gutfeld and the cast in The Wing had brought forward. So I'm a smidgen CDO about time. My biological father was certified by the School of Bulova to work on Bulova watches and Rolex watches, Seiko watches, and certified gemstones. And so, in that reference to whatever the article writer, whatever, something another, um, my biological father is first generation Chinese. I don't know what that translates to regarding that article writer as far as how she says that being on time is white supremacy. I'm fairly certain, with my biological father being first generation Chinese, I'm not certain. I'm not certain. I'm fairly certain, though. I'm going to guesstimate his skin tone is somewhere between olivey yellowish in comparison to white. Now, if you are translating the white aspect to the color in his eyes around, in regards to, unless he's wearing a white shirt, I don't really understand that particular aspect as to the article that is referred to in the Greg Gutfeld show, because I'm fairly certain. I don't know how many. Okay, so I'm only half Chinese. Okay, so I have a lighter complexion because of my biological mother and like the mutt that she is. And being born in the year of the dog as a biological female doesn't really matter, to be honest. Half Chinese from a purebred, first generation Chinese male, and then, whatever crawled underneath the fence, I guess, pun intended. Depending on how that went, I don't need those details. How I, came to be. It is what it is. So, I'm alive. Today is the 7th of July, 2022. Nonetheless, just gonna point that out there. I'm fairly certain it would be really weird. I mean, I can't be the only one because my biological little sister, she kind of looks a lot more Asian than I do. And so, so she has more olivey-ish complexion. And where I have makeup on, she actually has Asian eyes, like that slanted sort of thing. And so, I'm fairly certain, um, possibly a little difficult to call it white supremacy in reference to, maybe I'm biased because there's that. Um, I'm just going to throw that out there, though. I'm fairly certain if you're referring to white supremacy as to Caucasians, well, my biological mother has a bunch of different mixture aspects of, but she also has 5 different Native American tribes, so that translates to that to me. So to the terminology, kinda, a little like bigoted when you really think about it. Because and bigotry, in my opinion, can go in any direction. So if you're going in the capacity of that, well, my biological mother worked in information technology. And so if you're going to refer to being on time, well, you kind of have to be, when it comes to information technology engineering design, you kind of need to. It's kind of a thing. It's kind of important. So combining that, and I don't know how many people have ever used a desktop or a laptop or a cell phone. Sometimes, pun intended, sometimes there could be a clock somewhere. Maybe a timer. Who knows? How many cell phones have a timer? I don't know. I don't want to assume. Okay, I don't want to assume. And then so it's kind of weird, especially in the year of 2022. Or are you talking about the color of these doors? Is that what the reference is to some? Or is it in regards to lights and light fixtures? Um, just gonna throw that out there. Not the smartest crayon in the toolbox. However, I'm fairly certain, hypothetically, again, so you got 5 Native American tribes regarding my biological mother. Um, and what is Caucasian anyway? Is that Anglo-Saxon? Because if it is, then you have to take in consideration, okay, so there's Italian, Irish, German, Polish, French, Canadian French, Russian. There is English, but there's also like Portuguese and Spaniard and then again those 5 Native American tribes. So if you're talking Anglo-Saxon in reference to just because I can't be the only mutt. Yeah. And so since Tyrus has talked about a few things, hopefully he's not offended by the color of my corset. Because I don't know when it comes to certain things nowadays, okay? So, and then, scuba diving wetsuits, depending on, I've seen a multitude of colors of that. That's kind of, my bikini wetsuit or Farmer John wetsuit. Although by technicality, this would be a bikini if I didn't have my tutu. So is it a trikini? I don't know, because tri-state area, born and raised, I don't know. I don't know what. just throwing that out there. So in that reference, then there's that, because how many people who have different ethnic backgrounds actually do a lot to get to work on time or get to actually taking care of stuff? Because a lot of individuals as to various ethnic backgrounds actually do a lot to actually make sure they're on time so that way they can get whatever they need. There's the bills as far as that's concerned. I don't know where this particular writer as to and I'll be honest, I didn't read the article in reference to what the Gutfeld show cast was talking about, though it is one of those, I don't know how many people actually do make sure to get their stuff done on time. Like, for example, does that translate to when you get milk and on the carton it has a specific, use date by? Is that considered racist? racist to that, or white supremacy-ish to that particular female is because, that's milk and it's white. Is she saying there's no such thing as chocolate milk? Is she saying, yes, I'm being sarcastic. I acknowledge that. However, so in the reference of talking about being on time, that doesn't really make a lot of sense because, again, she's a female. According to the article reference, I'm fairly certain most females, biologically, definitely prefer being on time. Mm-hmm. It's in a lot of ways, even though it sometimes is a annoyance. It's better to be early. Being a biological female in that reference of the term period. Because if you're late, well, in a different capacity than the military saying, well, it's because you did get screwed. Usually, unless it's stress, and that's like a whole other ball of wax. However, or is the white supremacy in reference to tampons and pads? I don't know, because as a biological female, and as to the article writer in the reference to what Gutfeld had said, I'm just wondering, does that translate to biological females being in that capacity because of the colors of pads and tampons? I'm not certain, because I don't know how many biological females, that, I'm sure there are plenty who, want that in regards of certain relationship factors. I'm not in a relationship, and then there's, I had 2 children, and I was in labor for over 7 days per child. Yeah, no, I'd rather be early. I would rather be early. I don't ever want to go through that again. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just saying. Um, just throwing that out there. Pun intended. Because I'd rather throw those out there in comparison to being in labor with another child again. I'm for life. I am. And yet, at the same time, that is 7 days at minimum of labor. I have a thing about patterns, okay? And my biological mother, she had scheduled her C-sections, okay? So it was a, it was a, it was a, so it was known when I was going to be born, but it was a last-minute C-section regarding me. And so then my biological little sister, she was a scheduled C-section as far as that was concerned. And so I was on time. Okay. Does that translate to people who have been born that way? And to be in that reference of the journal or whatever article writer? Does that translate to that too? Because I'm very confused as far as that's concerned. I don't really understand. Because again, my biological father is certified by the School of Bolivar, first generation Chinese. His grandparents escaped Mao Zedong. I'm fairly certain. Okay, well, I know the Asian thing. I get it. I already brought up the supposed to be consenting adult lifestyle. All right. Nonetheless, his grandparents, my great grandparents, my Bakung and my Bakpu, escaped Mao Zedong. And so, that's kind of a non-white country, because it's China. Yeah. And again, skin tone, unless you're talking about, in the George Washington, when he was a general sort of way, of the whites of the eye sort of thing, because that's kind of a different capacity. So, you know, just some semi-satirical ponderings as far as that's concerned. And so, you know, I mean, you know, it's just kind of, you know, just make my outfit work. You know, is that on time too? And technically colors. I don't know. Well, I don't know. I mean, you know, uh, just saying, you know, I'm not the smartest crayon in the toolbox. Not this. I acknowledge that. I had a head injury on Palm Sunday in 2000 when I was in basic training in the Army. You know, so or is that reference? You know, as far as individuals and certain references, because you know, I had dated an individual who tried to claim that he thought that I was rubbing in his face, which I wasn't, obviously. Nonetheless, not at that point in time. Nonetheless, that is what it is. Nonetheless, um, well, I wasn't, you know, because of the early part of this official YouTube video. Make sure to subscribe and like my official YouTube videos and share the links to my official YouTube videos and go to my website www.susanmealing.com, which is the same as www.ladydoryville.com. And so in regards to, he tried to claim that when I told him that I had a head injury on Palm Sunday in 2000 when I was in basic training, as a reminder, he tried to claim that he thought, I mean, he actually believed that, and I don't know how, but he thought I was rubbing in his face. Again, I wasn't. Nonetheless, and again, I don't even know how you rub this in the face in that capacity, because I had a head injury on Palm Sunday in 2000 as to being in the Army when I was in basic training. And that's one of those, then he went on this tirade because, you know, he's a little temper tantrum, you know, and he was upset because he chose not to go to the recruiter when he could have. And so is it in that reference where certain individuals as to how, and I've heard this before, where people have tried to claim, oh, well, if it wasn't this, I would have been in this branch. Or if it wasn't for this, and it was, you know, it's one of those, I would guesstimate back in the time frame of the 1960s and 1970s, that's probably similar as far as those capacities. Now, there is the difference. My biological father had tuberculosis when he was a child, but he went into the Merchant Marines from what he told me, because it wasn't at those same aspects at that time compared to when his numbers were actually called as far as the draft back in that time frame of Vietnam. He didn't try to avoid it. He stood up to re-go through because he'd actually applied beforehand. And so there is a difference between individuals who make an attempt and then those types that try to make excuses. And so if in that reference, in a different capacity, because that individual that I had dated was not the only one that I had dealt with that had tried to claim those factors in that similar capacity, especially in regards to after the attacks on the 11th of September in 2001. I knew an individual who tried to claim in reference to, because of a nickname, that was his excuse as to Roxy in that reference. I had another individual who tried to claim that, and everybody has a nickname when it comes to something. It's just a fact. You even make your own nicknames online. So if you really think about it, so there's Lady Dory Bell is in reference to my modeling name, though I didn't ever hide my name of Susan Mealing, you know, as far as what I usually went by, and my scuba dive tried to compare his knee in the Air Force as to basic training at Lackland compared to, because he had made it through 2 weeks of basic training at Lackland, and he tried to compare it to when I was at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and at that time I could only count up to 9 days in basic training, but I had went to basic training. I left the day of the 21st of March in 2000, and my head injury happened on Palm Sunday in 2000. So with my head injury, I deal with headaches and migraines and memory deficits and cognitive disorders. I only got to the point, because of the military working with me, I only got to counting up to 9 or 10. And so I went from college algebra with trigonometry and calculus to second grade math. And so I couldn't count the actual days as to, from the time frame of the 21st of March in 2000 to the end of March, and then the day of Palm Sunday in 2000. I couldn't do that arithmetic. I still have been having issues working on that, and this is 22 years later. So if in those references regarding, that type, where first and foremost, the Air Force individuals have needed to understand that if you go enlisted, your basic training is 9 times out of 10 not going to be at the level of most, probably about 9 out of 10, Army basic training. And that's not even going into the Marine Corps as far as that's concerned. Because obviously then there's that. And so then you have other situations of other people that are similar in whichever capacity regarding what's known as the DD-214, as far as that white piece of paper. And so it's a choice. It's a volunteer Army, or a volunteer Air Force, or a volunteer Coast Guard, or a volunteer Marine Corps, or a volunteer Navy, as far as the United States of America. So if in that reference to certain individuals and those are just a very small select number. That's not even in the larger aspect of San Antonio, Texas is now known as Military City, USA, because of the military installations. And so those individuals that, especially in regards to after the attacks of the 11th of September 2001, those individuals, whatever their aspects as to, or whatever their aspects are as to, unlike during the time frame of Vietnam, there wasn't a draft. It was completely voluntary. So you don't even have, in my opinion, you don't even have that allowance to try in that reference. Because that's not even dodging the draft, that's just not even showing up. Because if you want to try to claim in reference to that type of, because I've dealt with individuals who have tried to claim that they feel that the military is supreme. Well, yeah. The armed forces of the United States of America are the top, they're supposed to be, in regards of. Not in any offense to law enforcement regarding whether local, state, or federal. The armed forces of the United States of America a lot of times goes into different branches and divisions of. And it's because of their training level. It's because of their background. It's because of their clearance. So on and so forth, those experiences. And that's something to be grateful for. Because first and foremost, they were capable to take care of that. And secondly, they have the experience and the background to be capable to assist where possible. So in those particular metaphors to that article that's referred to as to the Gutfeld show, to the complaint about in regards of time, well, in the military, whichever, and it's not even just the military, even law enforcement, fire department, you obviously want the fire department to show up on time. You want your medical care to actually be on time, you know. But you also want law enforcement to be on time. It's better that way. Obviously, it's better to be early in comparison to late. And so now you have the formation of the U.S. Space Force, as far as that's concerned, and the reasons of. It's well before 2011 that NASA has been around. I mean, I don't know what year NASA came out, you know, specifically, but maybe, just maybe, hypothetically, NASA was around before the year 2020. I don't want to assume I've heard of it before, though possibly it could have been around before 2011. Maybe, I don't want to assume, maybe NASA was around, I don't know, before 1999. Could be. I don't want to assume, you know. But then when you think about time, well, how is it that the Declaration of Independence has a date as to 1776? If I mean, you know, I'm just wondering, you know, how is it the calendar factors when you really think about it? And so, in regards to the, you know, in that capacity, well, what is is there even a metaphor? Because if you're talking about ethnic background in that reference as to traits that are not only in reference to the ethnic background of, it's a reality in the modern day. It's just the facts. So the modern time frame in the year of 2022, that's just the facts. You have clocks for a reason. You have calendars for a reason. Currently, the capabilities of whatever levels of as to technology for a reason, because of how much advancement there's been. Instead of individuals in that capacity, again, I didn't read the article, shouldn't you be more grateful? Because if it's literally at the point where instead of being grateful and thankful that there have been this many advances, and then actually working towards whatever capacity of to progress forward, then it's one of those, well, what type of privilege do you have? Doesn't matter if you want to call it whatever color, just what privilege do you have because of whom to be even capable as a biological female, I'm going to guess, in regards of the author, as to being allowed to write an article. If you really think about it. If you know, and then if you are in the LGBTQP community or whatever aspect specifically of, in the country of the United States of America, you have freedoms and liberties that other people from other countries wish they could have. They fight to be capable to have that in their own country in a lot of ways. So at that point, is it that the term white privilege went to white supremacy because of certain individuals realizing the terminology in reference to? But then even still, you have the capability to whine about that. And so, in comparison to other countries, then you have that as to that reference being the point as to the female as per what the Gutfeld show had brought forward as to the author or writer of that article about time and being on time as to that. And so if in that reference as to, then well, then why don't you look at doing, article research as to how to assist developing other countries and bringing them up to speed? If you have that capability to complain about whatever term you want to complain about, it's something that I haven't really understood. I've explained this to people more in reference to the year of 1999 and onward to this year 2022, though more so in regards of the explanations through my official YouTube channel. Subscribe to my official YouTube channel, like my official YouTube videos, and share the links to my official YouTube videos. And go to my website, www.susanmeeling.com, which is the same as www.ladydorybell.com. Though in person, face-to-face in person, most specifically from the years of 1999 into the year of 2012, at minimum, if not 2013, in person, face-to-face in person, I would randomly discuss with people certain different liberties that only the United States of America has in quite a few ways. And so all of those individuals, as to especially from the years of 2010 into the year of 2013, but mainly 2010 into 2012, those types of people that had brought up their viewpoint in that capacity, while they touted that they voted for what they said is the first black president of the United States of America, which it seems a little bit white privilege or white supremacy to go and constantly refer to President of the United States of America, number 44, Barack Obama, only in reference to his skin tone. Which, not in any offense, I understand that that's a first in regards to his ethnic background. That doesn't change the fact that he was a president of the United States of America. And sure, I acknowledge that I didn't vote for him. I still respected the offices as I still respect the office of the presidency. And in doing so, that translates to, despite not having voted for 44 or 46, and having been honest about it, the reality of to still respect the country of the United States of America's presidency, as well as vice presidency, is through making the correct choices as best as possible. And so, in those references as to how does it come across in that hypothetical of that individual, if having voted for 44, is it the guilt internally? Because that's kind of, this is 2022. And yes, I understand. Yes, I do. Though, he has a name. Just pointing that out there. And it's not the first black president. Yes, to a degree, but you want to be, do you have the capacity of being respectful? Because this is something that annoyed me from 2008 through 2012, and I fully called people out on it. Why do you keep calling 44 that? Could you, at the very minimum, have the self-respect to respect the office of the presidency of the United States of America, to actually, at the very minimum, call him President of the United States of America, Barack Obama, actually use his proper title? Or if that's too many words with too many syllables, do you have the capacity of just saying 44 as far as that's concerned? Or POTUS 44? President of the United States of America 44? In comparison to constantly reiterating, yes, I understand, I comprehend that in the reference to, yes, he is the first in that capacity, just as Vice President of the United States of America 48, Kamala Harris, yes, she's the first female, so on and so. It doesn't change the fact of what her title is. And if you don't even have the minimum capacity of actually showing the most minimal sign of actual respect to the actual office of, is that part of the internal problem regarding certain types of millennials? Is it because of the title? Because if it is, that is something that is part of. That's just the facts, whether you like it or not. So when it comes to POTUS 44, or President of the United States of America 44, or President of the United States of America Barack Obama, or former President of the United States of America Barack Obama, in that reference, do you have the capacity to show the man the respect, since especially if you voted for him? I mean, I didn't even vote for him. I voted for John McCain and Sarah Palin. Do you have the capacity to even show the man the respect that he earned? Do you have the respect of not only the office of the President of the United States of America, but now in the year 2022, do you have the capacity to have the respect to show to the Vice President of the United States of America 48, Kamala Harris? Is that a capacity? Or is it such privilege as to your supremacy to actually have to constantly, one time, poke after the other as to, yes, the first, okay, but that doesn't change the actual title. That is not their actual title. Their actual title is in reference to Barack Obama, former President of the United States of America, or President of the United States of America number 44, or POTUS 44, and in the last two, in regards of still utilizing the name Barack Obama or Mr. Obama. Is that difficult? Because that's something that I personally have not been capable to understand. Then in reference to the current Vice President of the United States of America, number 48, Mrs. Kamala Harris, I don't know if that has to do with a Southern thing or the Midwestern thing where people grew up in comparison of Mr. last name, Mrs. last name, Ms. last name, whatever it is, in those capacities as to the proper etiquette as to title. And that is just a small capacity. I had this issue in my neighborhood with my first house. When it came to my son and my daughter, I did not approve of my son and my daughter calling the neighbors certain things as far as Mr. Arnold or Miss Emily, or I could tolerate it only when it came to Miss Caroline and Mr. Gill. I only was capable to tolerate it in that capacity, though even having cringed because of my own personal issues. Nonetheless, is that a Midwestern and Southern issue and certain other states that have a larger aspect of in those democratic factors? Because, oh, we'll be buddy, buddy, buddy. No, that's their title. Their title, so in regards of 44, his title is not the first black president of the United States of America. His title is currently in the year 2022, his title is the former President of the United States of America, Mr. Barack Obama. Or, that's in the formal aspect. The semi-formal, I should actually say. In the formal aspect, it is President of the United States of America, Mr. Barack H. or Hussein Obama. Or, in a lesser but still formal, or lesser semi-formal, it is POTUS 44 Obama and or POTUS 44 Barack Obama, or in the minimal aspect as to his title, POTUS 44. So in regards of the current President of the United States of America, Mr. Joe Biden, or President of the United States of America 46, Mr. Joe Biden, or President of the United States of America Joe Biden, or President of the United States of America 46 Joe Biden, or President of the United States of America Mr. Biden, or President of the United States of America 46, or President of the United States of America 46 Joe Biden. In those capacities, it's that simple. So is it where individuals haven't thought about that in comparison? Is it because of those, in comparison, so you have the, I say CDO, though it's OCD, but that is a medical aspect of obsessive compulsive disorder. In comparison to that situation, like what is it, LOL or whatever, regarding laughing out loud, how about you just laugh? You know, I actually knew people that would actually say the letters in comparison to just laughing. Is that millennial situation as far as that's concerned? Because when I've had to have that explained to me, the way it was talked down at me, because I didn't understand, seems very similar in regards to this article that on the Gutfeld show referred to. Kind of just pointing that out there. And so that's something that really needs to be taken into consideration. But I know that there's also the tone of voice, because, you know, white pages. Because it doesn't really matter at that point as to the tone of voice. No matter what anybody wishes in that capacity. It's just the facts. And so when people have needed to actually accept that reality, when it comes to the point in time of the year 2008, I cannot think of one individual that I had known in person, face-to-face, in person, who ever called him POTUS 44 or even President of the United States of America at that point in time. They just called him the first black president. They didn't even call him Obama at that point. It was one of those, do you have any respect at all for the office of the presidency? Because if you do, if you actually respect the office of the presidency, you have that minimum starting point as to that etiquette, respecting that. And so sure, I don't deny having not voted for 44, but I still respected his office. I did go handle business without hesitation as far as that's concerned. Though I also didn't know how to approach that, mainly because I didn't know how to approach that because of the technological factors. I know that there are emails in that reference, though I didn't know, and those who are in certain aspects of whichever branch or division, posting a link in certain forms was not a capability at that time regarding whether in reference to Facebook or any other location regarding my social media to give that. And then additionally, there wasn't an email capacity capacity, if I recall, at that point in time. I did make attempts in person, face-to-face in person, but that's a situation in regards to the civilian recreational scuba divers at that time, which had an issue because I acknowledged being a Republican. So, in reference to the article that Gutfeld was talking about with the cast of, well, I guess in the regards of the earlier portion, well, it is an irony as to one particular female's name. And so I couldn't help it because it was right there. And whether in reference of whatever, whether in regards of dinner and or dessert, depending on, I'm in the United States of America. I do have a buckung and a buckpoo though, and there are signs in certain areas that regarding certain wildlife, such as ducks and geese. So I'm just pointing that out there. I'm not saying that my buckung and or my buckpoo after they escaped Mao Zedong had ever because I wasn't officially informed, though I knew my buckung and I knew my buckpoo and I knew certain looks in certain references when seeing certain things, and so it's just one of those. No. Because there was a point in time where every now and then you'd see certain stray animals in New York City, and so no, not allowed. So, and whichever capacity of, different types of birds, hypothetically, and it is as it is regarding those particular factors. So, though, depending on who you are, I have been a part of what's supposed to be considered the consenting adult lifestyle. So, dinner and or dessert, depending on how you view that. Because well, so I like the color red. And so, in that particular, it's a different type of wrestling, in comparison. I know that there's the term leg lock, but this is probably a different terminology compared to in that particular reference. Hypothetically, I wouldn't officially know because I wasn't on the wrestling team. So there is that. However, well, there are those. It is as it is. And so sometimes I can be modest, and other times, And so there's my book section. I authored a few books. There's a fiction book series that might hypothetically in that reference, because period. So on my website, susanbling.com, which is the same as www.ladydorybell.com. And if you go to my book section, there's the book series, The Paroxysm of the Lotus. And you can click on that for the link to purchase through Amazon. And so there are those capacities, though I didn't write about red eye in that capacity, even in that reference. However, I like hockey. I do. I really like hockey. There's this team called the Red Wings, and so paper, because paper can be considered as white. And in regards of certain college students and graduates, they sure brought up a lot of stuff about their degrees. And their degrees are made of white paper. I don't know if anybody in those references regarding that article writer in the reference of the link in the information section. So I don't know if they thought about that, especially if there's a bunch of college graduates. They have, if they have a college degree, do they know that their college degree is a white piece of paper? Did that memo get to them? Just throwing that out there. So thanks for tuning in to my official YouTube channel. Like my official YouTube video. Make sure to subscribe to my official YouTube channel as you share the link to my official YouTube videos. Go to my website, susanmeeling.com. Same as www.ladydorybell.com. And if you're going to leave a comment, make sure to have etiquette and respect. I guess I can make a different type of sarcastic comment-ish, because, well, hello, nurse. So, because, is that a different factor? Because nurses are known to wear white sometimes. Or is it white gloves? Is it handbells? Because handbells, they have different color gloves. Doctors wear gloves. Are socks? I'm just going at this point now. Are socks that are white considered racist? Are white shoes racist? Because it's a color. Are these doors racist? Are they supreme? I don't know if these doors are supreme. Although I've heard of a group, I like the Supremes, but I don't think that these doors are that. I found these I can make them make noise, but that's not the songs. I'm just saying, although I guess in some ways, that's kind of like a wicka 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 wicka. So thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to like my official YouTube video. Subscribe to my official YouTube video. Go to my website, www.susanmeeling.com, which is the same as www.ladydorybell.com. Today is the 7th of July, 2022. 7 July 2022.